Hack the Entrepreneur is part of Rainmaker FM, the digital business podcast network. Find more great shows and education at rainmaker.fm. Today's episode of Hack the Entrepreneur is brought to you by Earth Class Mail. Earth Class Mail moves your snail mail to the cloud, giving you instant access 24/7 and integrates with the tools and services you use every day. You also get a real, professional address to publicly share with customers, business partners, and investors. Visit earthclassmail.com and you'll get your first month of service absolutely free when you sign up using offer code HACK. That's earthclassmail.com and use offer code HACK.
Welcome to Hack the Entrepreneur, the show which reveals the fears, habits, and inner battles behind big-name entrepreneurs and those on their way to joining them. Now here is your host, John Naster.
Hey, welcome back to Hack the Entrepreneur. I'm so glad you decided to join me today. I'm your host, John Naster, but you can call me Johnny. My guest today is the founder and CEO of multiple successful businesses, including StickerJunkie.com and Delinquent Distribution. Most recently, though, and alongside her partner, Dan Caldwell, who is the founder of Tap Out Clothing, she has also created Lessons.biz, which offers a 6-week course on how to run a successful t-shirt business. My guest skipped college and started her first business, Rhythm Sticks, which she is currently reviving at age 23. She also appeared in season 5 of The Apprentice and won 2 tasks as project manager before being fired by the Donald Trump in week 9. Now, let's hack Andrea Lake. Hack the Entrepreneur is sponsored by Citi Cards with Android Pay. How cool is it that we live in a world where you can use the same device to listen to Hack the Entrepreneur and buy your morning coffee, groceries, and more? And did I mention that it's a super fast way to pay? Just use your Citi Card with Android Pay at the register. Get in, get it, get going. Download the Android Pay app on Google Play or visit citi.com/Android Pay to get started. Android Pay is available for eligible Citi consumer credit and debit cards. Welcome back to another episode of Hack the Entrepreneur. We have an extra special guest today. Andrea, thank you so much for joining me.
Thanks so much, John. I'm excited to be here.
It's going to be a lot of fun. So let's jump straight into it, shall we?
Sounds like a plan.
Awesome. Andrea, what is the one thing that you do that you feel has been the biggest contributor to your successes so far?
Wow. There are a couple of things that I do. On a personal note, I would say taking time for myself, yoga, meditation, hiking. I get my best ideas there. And in business, there's a couple of contributing factors. But when I really put a dollar value on my time, when I started to do that, and at first it was just $20 an hour and hiring out everything else that I could hire for less than $20 an hour, my business increased by 500% that year.
Wow.
And so I really very strongly recommend that every entrepreneur does that. Now it's hundreds of dollars an hour. So anything that I can hire out, which is almost everything I do, and really learning the superpower of delegation. That's been one of my biggest wins.
Wow. I love that. I love that as the benchmark, $20 an hour. If it's less than that, then yes, it's gone. Because I'm kind of going through that right now with the podcast, trying to push things off and knowing that by spending that money, it's going to grow it, obviously, because there's only one of me.
Right. And actually, it was a mind shift that my mentor helped me get, because I thought in my head, which I think most entrepreneurs do, I'm saving money by doing all of this myself, which is obviously completely inaccurate. And I was literally packing orders and stuff. It was 98, the early days of the internet. And he said, okay, this is exactly what I want you to do. I want you to hire someone to come in and pack the orders. And every minute that she is there, it was a girl I ended up hiring, I want you to be making sales calls. And I was like, well, that's brilliant. And then I very quickly realized that I was averaging $400 an hour in sales when I was doing sales calls for that company. It was my first clothing company. And I was like, well, I think my dollar value should be higher than $20 an hour. and B, perhaps I should be doing nothing but making sales calls.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's a great mind shift change, because it's absolutely right. As long as you do something more valuable with that time, right?
Yes, exactly. And that was why it was imperative to me And not only that, it was a really great company because it was a CPG, a consumer products good company. And so I had a really tangible amount that I could associate with that time.
Yeah, which makes
not all companies work that way.
Exactly. Yeah, and that's a great way to start. So when you said on the personal side with the yoga, meditation, and hiking, your best ideas come from there.
Absolutely.
How do you document those ideas while in the middle of an activity?
Oh, do you know what? Well, two things. First of all, I do use voice recordings or I'll text myself something.
Nice.
But in general, I don't, I know some people might not agree with me here, but if an idea doesn't rise to the top and excite me to the point where I remember it, I don't consider it all that valuable.
Nice. If an idea doesn't rise to the top, that's that's a great way to think of it, actually. You don't need every idea, right? You just need ideas flowing.
Right.
More so than to remember every single idea.
Yeah, people say like, oh, I had this great idea and it was so great and I forgot it. And I'm like, no, you didn't. It was fine. You'll remember it. You'll remember it. If it was really that great, you're not going to forget. You're like, just the other day, I found out that I could apply one of my companies to vocational rehabilitation for military guys, which means the government actually will pay for them to take my course. I'm like, there's no way I'm forgetting that. I don't even need to write that down.
So true.
That's amazing. Like, that's going to mean like $1 million over the course of the next 2 years. I don't have to write that down.
Yeah, it doesn't matter what notebook it's on.
That's right.
That's brilliant. That's a great way to think about it, because I've actually been sort of struggling with that myself. Like I got like a notebook so I can write things down, but wow. It's true. You remember those good ones.
Yeah.
All right. So there's this time in every entrepreneur's life, Andrea, where they realize one of two things, that either they have this calling to make something big in the world, or it seems to mostly be the case, they find they simply cannot work for somebody else. Can you tell me which side of the fence you fall on and when you discovered this about yourself?
Well, actually, I fall on both sides of those fences, but the very first, which I think is the natural first one, it's like a slightly more immature thought, not in a bad way. But when I was really young, I just knew that I couldn't work for anybody else. And that is the first thought. And then so for the first 15 years of being an entrepreneur, I really just started companies because I knew I wanted the freedom of owning my own business, even though there's a correlated risk with it. And then as I got older and I knew how to run businesses and I kind of cut my teeth on a couple of smaller companies, that's when I saw the opportunity to do something that would have a massive worldwide effect.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
That's very cool.
Yeah. So most of my earlier companies were clothing, and I own the sales rights like on Minecraft and World of Warcraft and all these video games, which is awesome. And I love that. But that's not really changing the world. Do you know? And so I just kind of scaled into bigger and bigger and bigger. I've started 14 companies since I was 18. So I scaled into larger and larger companies. And then I created something that really could have a massive effect on entrepreneurship, which is my passion anyways. And so I was very excited about that.
Wow. 14 companies since you were 18. So you started off early in clothing. Why did you pick clothing early on?
Well, actually, I had a toy company. That was my first company when I was 18.
Oh.
And yeah, rhythm sticks, those sticks where you hold one in each hand and use the two you're holding to throw a third stick around.
Yes.
But those are so fun. I made like the best ones. And I actually still have a little Etsy store that's up. It really just is a passion project because I literally do make like the best, prettiest, bestest ones. If you go on rhythm sticks at Etsy, we barely sell any of them because we won't push it. We sell like a few hundred sets a year, but they are like the best, most aerodynamic ones that have like actual thought behind the physics of the whole thing while simultaneously looking really pretty. I'm super into design. But I just never was making any money at it. Like I was, because I was 18 when I started it. So I was like a baller for an 18-year-old because I was probably making like 40 grand a year, which was all of the money in the world. And then when I was 21, I heard of this guy that was making $10,000 a month selling t-shirts, which was like really all the money in the world. That profit, $10,000 a month profit. I'm like, holy moly, I am going to go do that like immediately. And so when I was 22, I started my first clothing company, Anti-Establishment Clothing. I just saw a gap in the market in really offensive t-shirts. And my premise was I could sell all these to head shops and tattoo shops and like online and whatever. And most of the people that have most of these companies are probably just really angry people that are not having like excellent customer service and really good branding and all of that stuff. And that turned out to be accurate. And so, so I thought I could just go totally dominate this market. And I had an angsty, misspent youth. And so that came out in the t-shirts and it went really well, that company. And so that's how I got into clothing. And then it didn't sell though that well in the chains. Like I was doing really well. I was doing almost like maybe $1 million a year in sales. And then I finally got into which is not that much profit, as any entrepreneur knows. It's like maybe 15% profit, which you're reinvesting back into the company anyway. Yeah. And then my big goal was to get in Hot Topic, and like Blink-182 started wearing my stuff when they were a tiny band. And so Hot Topic kept saying, we'll buy from you, we'll buy from you, we'll buy from you. And finally they went to a Blink-182 show and saw my merchandise on the band. And they were like, all right, we'll buy it.
We'll totally buy from you.
The next day, they actually placed their first order with me. True story. And it's actually even funnier than that because they weren't allowed to wear anything but Hurley on stage because they were under contract. And so they actually just had like 1,000 of my stickers and they were throwing them out into the audience. And my Hot Topic buyer was in the audience and picked up one of the stickers and was like, whoa, if Blink-182 is throwing this girl's stuff out, we got to buy it.
And why were they throwing out your stickers?
Because I randomly had sent over, like they broke so fast, and they were a San Diego band, and I grew up in San Diego. And I used to always give them clothes. We were like really good friends with the lead singer's cousin. And he came over before the show, and we were supposed to go like backstage to the show, and I had the flu. So I just like sent over this huge grocery bag full of merchandise. And we had 90 slogans, all like offensives, like I sell crack for the CIA and stuff like that. And other ones that I probably can't say on the air. Yeah. And then, so I grabbed like 10 each of each slogan, which is like 900 stickers, which is a ridiculous amount of stickers to send to anyone. Like what else are they going to do with them? So, but I had no thought into it. I was like delirious with the flu and just packing merchandise for them to take with them on their tour. And they just ended up throwing out like hundreds of stickers into the audience. They were really, really cool stickers. And they were advertising on the back cover of High Times back then, and like Alternative Press magazine and Revolver and all these magazines that were big back then. So it was kind of a cooler brand.
Wow.
Yeah. And then, but it didn't sell when I got to Hot Topic. They called me up. They're like, we can't buy from you anymore. And they had already bought way more than they were supposed to buy. They kept testing designs that weren't selling and more designs that weren't selling because I just was a good salesperson. And then
Awesome.
The buyer made his assistant buyer call me to tell me that they weren't going to buy from me anymore. Because the guy had no power to say yes, and he knew he'd be talking to. So I totally started crying. It was super professional. I was like 24. I didn't know what I was going to do with my life if Hot Topic didn't sell my stuff.
Wow.
And the kid was so nice. Like I didn't pick up the equation back then, but like I was a smoking hot 24-year-old girl, and I'm crying on the phone with a 21-year-old guy. Like I didn't understand the dynamic of any of that. And he's like, "Oh my God, Andrea, don't worry. We really like you. Like we really, really like you. You've crossed the biggest hurdle, and you just have to sell us stuff that's going to sell, just not anti-establishment. I will take your call." So I immediately, while I am still crying, say, "Well, I came up with this new company. It's called Delinquent Distribution, and I'm going to have 80 designs to you in 6 weeks." I had done no such thing. I had done no such thing. I didn't even put the receiver down onto the phone unit. Only our older listeners will even know what that means. I just pushed the click button and immediately called my biggest competitor, which was On American Activities, and said I wanted to license their stuff and I would give them 50% of the profit. And they agreed. And then I called 6 other competitors, Seedless Clothing and Dub and a bunch of other clothing companies that were teeny tiny at the time. And they all signed over their licensing rights to me. The rest of them did it for 25% of the profit, which is a really, really fair rate. And then I took care of all of the factoring of the order, paying for it, getting it distributed. And all of it. And then I also contracted with some graphic designers. Like 99 designs did not exist. This is probably like in 2000. So it was a crazy claim to say that I would have 80 designs, but I ended up having hundreds within the next 6 weeks. And then 6 weeks after that, when I was showing it to Mr. Rags and Miller's Outpost and Hot Topic, 2 of those don't even exist anymore, I had done $1 million in profit in the first 3 months after that phone call.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So where did you learn to sell like this?
Well, I think some of it was innate, but where I think I really busted my chops was I did fundraising door to door for KRAL, which is a pro-choice organization, a political action committee in California. And when I went for the interview, I was so quiet back then that they just didn't think I would be able to do it, but they hire everyone because they pay just on commission, you know? Yeah. And so then I did door to door sales, and I was with them for 2 years, and I was their #1 top producing salesperson. And there's really nothing more that will prepare you to make a sale than going to somebody's door with possibly, like, certainly one of the most controversial issues that exists, and asking for money and being able to get somebody to write you a check in like 2 minutes for an organization they probably have never heard of before. Like,
it's a tough sell. It's a tough sell.
It's a tough sell. And I was really like insanely good at it. And so I never even considered myself a good salesperson, but I was. And that just taught me several things that are beneficial for your entrepreneurial listeners. Number one, sales is just a numbers game. And so like, it's just truly no big deal. Like if you hit 100 people, you're going to get a sale.
Mm-hmm.
Like you just will. And so, and also that these people don't know you. So you can't take anything personally. It's a very charged issue. So people would be screaming obscenities in my face and calling me the worst names that you can call. And I would just be like, you don't know me. It's totally fine. Like, it's not personal. So then when I translated that in the later years and I was talking to people on the phone, like from a tattoo shop, and they're just having a bad day and they're, what makes you think you can call my shop? I'm like, you're just on the no call list now. It's no worries. You don't know me. I don't have anything to do with your bad day. No.
But yeah, I think having that sort of being able to deal with it like that, I think is somewhat innate, because most people are probably listening to this right now and cringing at the thought of somebody like you calling them coldly and then them freaking out on you. That's the fear that people have, right? And you're right. It's not founded because they don't know you. You don't know them. And if you do call 100 of them, no matter what you're selling, you will sell to one of those people.
Yes. It's like that social experiment where the guy literally just walks up to like 1,000 women and literally just says, first thing, do you want to go have sex with me? You can see this on YouTube. And literally 2 women say yes. And he doesn't say anything else to them first. They're like, yeah, okay.
It never hurts to ask.
Clearly not.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So you are really good at sales. And at the beginning, you told us you're really, really good at delegating and getting rid of things. So every blog post, every expert now talks the 80-20 rule, right? Do 20%, get 80% of the results, do what you're good at, delegate the rest. Mm-hmm. So Andrea, can you tell me something that you are absolutely not good at in your business?
Oh yeah. So I actually am good at it, but I hate it. So really detail-oriented execution, really detail-oriented follow-through. Like the nitty-gritty stuff, making sure every T is crossed and every I is dotted, filling out like tons of really like government-oriented paperwork. So Katie, who's my operations manager, does all of that.
Wow.
Yeah.
So
and then I just approve it and stuff.
Did you say you're good at it, but you don't like it?
I mean, I'm very competent at it.
Okay.
I just don't like it. What I'm not great at, new technologies. It's just not my thing. And so my employees just find them and bring them to me and teach me how to use them. Is that serious?
That works.
I actually really like them, but like something, yeah. And if people are talking about really, really detail-oriented statistical type of analysis, it literally is like a kitten with a ball of yarn in my head just playing. I go completely blank. So that's not something I handle myself in my companies usually.
So if you were starting up a new company, mm-hmm. that would be one of the first things that you would hire out, mm-hmm. is the detail oriented, the paperwork, like crossing the T's.
Yes, it would be. I think that you are just exactly on the right track, that you must figure out either what you don't want to do, what doesn't make the company money, or what you dislike doing, and have other people doing those things while you focus on your areas of genius.
Yeah.
And
well said.
Thanks. Yeah. Instead of 80-20, this is how I do it. I only do things within my company that I feel like I must personally do, like hiring or, negotiating a really big deal or something like that. So I only do things that I feel like I must do, things that I absolutely love to do, and things that generate the company money. Those are the 3 prongs that I take care of myself.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
And you say you have to do the hiring. Do you also do the management of people once they're hired?
No.
Yeah, I find entrepreneurs a lot. We know we have to hire the right people, but then after that, we're terrible at managing these people. It seems to be a really recurring theme throughout these conversations. Well, that's why I wanted to ask you.
I know I do some of the managing, but I have just been so blessed and lucky with the employees I have in my companies. And they really are like, co-workers and people that really facilitate the running of the companies. Like one of my companies, Sticker Junkie, I literally went into the offices twice last year for an hour each time. And Tony manages the entire staff there and manages all of the, everything. everything, cost of operations, the organization, the human resources. He just manages every part of it brilliantly so that I don't have to. It's really lovely.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so there's a lot of companies you have started, a lot of companies you're running now.
Mm-hmm.
And, well, 18, I think you said? No, 14.
14.
14
Mm-hmm.
since you were 18. So let's...
Currently 5.
Currently 5?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. So let's talk projects. So projects can be something either, if you want, within a company or an idea that comes across your desk to start a new company.
Mm-hmm.
I want to know, do you have a process that you go through now that allows you to decide when a new company is right to start or a new project is a new venture where you guys should focus a lot of your time, money, and energy into?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do. It's not like my business partner, Travis Steffen. He's exited 6 tech companies in the last 5 years. He's amazing. You should have him on your show.
I should.
He is really systematically organized. I, however, am almost completely intuitively focused in stuff like that. So it really is when an idea just keeps rising to the top and I cannot get it out of my head and I feel like it must exist. And then I just, I assume that there's a market for it. So then I create an MVP, a minimum viable product, to see if that is actually true and accurate and see whether or not we can get sales on it. And then assuming that we can get sales, we execute on it. And I have a really interesting setup in my companies, which is the companies have individual employees that manage the operations and the process type of stuff. And then I have an overarching team that just stays with me that tucks in and out of all of my companies in the same way that I do. It's just like an operations manager and a designer, and we kind of go and see what needs to be done. And then we work with, strategic partners who are more of the growth hackers and marketers. But that way we can go and assess what needs to be done in any company to really make it more profitable or expand its growth.
Wow. Okay. So as entrepreneurs and as humans in general, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of our greatest struggles is the fear of being wrong, making mistakes and failing. So you've now decided a new project, apparently by following your gut and what you feel. You can't get this idea out of your head. It needs to go to market.
Mm-hmm.
You take it to market and it completely flops. How do you continue to move ahead confidently and with your team around you? Like, how do you pull through totally being wrong at something and not have it sideswipe you?
I've actually never been wrong.
Nice.
Oh, wait.
Wow. Okay. Next question.
I'm just kidding. Actually, something I talk about a lot is failure being really not a big deal. I had one company, we did subscription-based websites for best-selling spiritual authors. We were on Oprah. It was too early. It was 2005. The entire company it was such a massive fail. And I had self-financed the company and I actually went hugely in debt. I had to liquidate everything and cash in my retirement savings. I was $1.2 million in debt, US. And I never filed for bankruptcy. I knew that I knew how to make money. And so the first thing is that you lose confidence. At least I completely lost confidence in myself. And like, who am I? I clearly don't know what I'm doing. Like I thought I knew way more than this. and multiple other things happened at the same time. Like I had put together a $2 million deal with GameStop and they returned most of the merchandise. That happened the same week.
Oh.
So yeah, it was a very sad week. Then the IRS called me and told me that I owed them deep 6 figures. That was the next week. So I got completely wiped out and I spent like 6 months curled up on the floor in a ball as I was like liquidating all of my assets. But you just have to get back up. Like the only way that you actually can fail is not to get back up. And every entrepreneur that I know has experienced their version of something similar to that, where it's usually far less extreme, but it's really not that big of a deal because by the time you even have that much to lose, you know what you're doing. And so if you can remember in the moment of it that it's really not that big of a deal, and that most companies, like if you're experiencing a failure, it's going to be on a much, much, much smaller scale. And also, it's probably one of 2 reasons. Either you're not getting enough traffic and people viewing your site, or you're monetizing incorrectly, or your idea is just bad. Those are pretty much the 3 options. And you're going to be able to find that out. If you read Eric Ries's Lean Startup, if you are doing it with minimum viable product, you're going to be able to find out pretty quickly whether or not your idea is any good.
Yeah. Totally. That's a great way to, not enough traffic, not monetizing properly, or you have a terrible idea. That's basically sums it up right there. And it's usually you don't have enough people seeing your offer yet.
That's correct. Yeah. Yeah. I was starting actually to feel like a failure on one of my newer ventures. And then I went into my analytics and I was like, oh, 1,000 people have seen the page and 8 people bought. That's good.
Yep.
And it was actually less. It was like, 850 people had seen the page and 8 people bought. And I'm like, oh, 1% conversion on something that hasn't been optimized. That's not terrible. I think also a lot of times we count stuff a little bit too soon. Like people think that the first day that they throw a website up, that like they're just going to be rich. And so a far better way to look at it is the first day that you throw the website up, that is the worst that your website is ever going to look. It's the worst product offering you're ever going to have because you're just going to keep improving it from there. So if you have any traction at all, like even people joining your mailing list or clicking like on Facebook or anything, like that's great because it's just going to increase from your smallest point of beginning.
I love it. The worst it will ever be is that first day. And that's the day everybody thinks that, yeah, here we go. I'm going to be rich.
My business partner, Travis Steffen, had said that to me and I laughed and it switched my whole perspective because I've fallen into that trap before. I'm like, why doesn't everyone just love my stuff? It's so good.
If they kind of like it now when it's this bad, then think of when it's good.
Exactly.
That's a brilliant mindset.
It is.
I love it. Okay, so we're going to wrap up, Andrea, on something I'm calling the entrepreneurial gap. So as entrepreneurs, I feel that we are always looking forward, setting goals 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years down the road. Right before we even hit those goals, we set 5 or 10 loftier ones into the future. And it's always in 6 months when my business is doing this, I'll be happier. When it's a year and my business is doing this, I will be successful. It's always in the future. And I feel that we oftentimes fail to stop and look at what we've come through, what we've accomplished, what we've done, and kind of give ourselves credit for it. You've started 14 companies. You've had highs, you've had lows that you just told us about. But I would love right now, Andrea, if you could stop, turn around, look at where you've come from in the past since you were 18 years old, and tell me how you feel about that.
My 18-year-old self would be like insanely blown away by how much I've accomplished in business and by the lifestyle that I get to live as a result of it and by the community of business people that I've built around myself. This is not even any words.
Awesome.
It's been a really good journey. It's been really a lot.
That's awesome. That's a good attitude.
Well, I just agree with you 100% that people are so up to speed with where they are that they don't realize how extraordinary their journey has been.
And it is. There's no way you can be where you are doing stuff without having come through so much and accomplished so much. And those are the things you have to remember when all of a sudden, like, shit goes bad and you're on the floor again. Like, oh my God, you got to remember, like, no, but I did this, and this right all along. Just did one thing wrong at some point and it screwed up a lot, but it means I can do it again.
I love that.
All right, Andrea, this has been a lot of fun. We've got to talk about your businesses in passing. Could you specifically tell the listener where to go find more out about your businesses?
Sure. The newest company is lessons.biz, and you can look up everything there. It's actually a conglomeration. It's a collection of all of the business knowledge that I've gained in the apparel industry over the past 20 years. And we're teaching really detail-oriented specific lessons on exactly how to do what we have done, which is sell millions and millions of t-shirts. It's myself and my business partner, Dan Caldwell. He started Tap Out Clothing, which of course does hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars a year in sales. And I own the sales rights on Minecraft. So of course I've sold millions and millions and millions of t-shirts. And we teach you exactly start to finish, no joke, legit, 6 weeks down and dirty, exactly how to do it roadmap style. And the future of that company is we'll offer on multiple different entrepreneurial verticals how to do that in restaurants, with your own Amazon store, starting a yoga studio, a salon, a coffee shop, etc. So I'm super excited about lessons.biz. And then mentormojo.com is the other one. And it's a more generalized version of the same thing. It's a $27 a month subscription where you can learn from like the founders of Hootsuite or Jake Nickel from Threadless or all of these amazing entrepreneurs who have just done incredible things over the course of their careers, really sharing detail-oriented knowledge on a lot of different verticals about how you can be successful as well.
Nice. So that's mentormojo.com?
And lessons.biz. Lessons.biz does like 6-week, very interactive courses that you're interacting with myself and Dan from Tap Out, who also teaches the course. And it pairs you with somebody that has really had massive success in the area that you want to have. And it's just super detail-oriented content. Because a lot of the stuff out there that's like come make money right now. Like, it's a lot of people who are making all of their money by selling you products and how to make money. So I thought, what if instead you had like a laser focused roadmap where if you want to start a t-shirt company, we tell you, this is the blank t-shirt supplier you should be using. This is their address and phone number. This is how you vet your screen printers. This is how you find a screen printer. This is how you present your website. This is how you increase sales on your website or to the mom and pop stores. Like, really action-oriented, detailed advice that you need if you want your clothing company to be successful. So if you've started a clothing company and maybe you have like somewhere under $100,000 a year in sales, there's little adjustments that you can make that will bump you up to that next level.
Excellent.
Mm-hmm.
So lessons.biz, mentormojo.com, Sticker Junkie, and Eric Reese's Lean Startup. We'll all have links in the show notes, so they are super easy for everyone to find, and definitely check out lessons.biz. Andrea, thank you so much for taking the time to stop by today. I really, really appreciate it. And please just keep doing what you're doing because it's awesome and really inspiring to watch.
Thanks for having me so much, John. I really appreciate it. And I love everything you're doing for entrepreneurship.
Thank you very much. Andrea, thank you so much. That was a lot of fun. And that was just a really cool conversation. And you said some really cool stuff that, I even responded to you right after we recorded this, and I had to write a new article for entrepreneur.com. And if you haven't read my articles on entrepreneur.com, go check them out. Entrepreneur.com, and there's a search box. I don't type in Naster, I guess, John Naster, and you'll find them. But I was inspired by what she said just in this conversation. I had to write an article right after, and I was like, can I use that? Can I use your stuff? And Andrea responded very nicely and just like, yeah, of course, that'd be cool. And we did it, and we got published, and it was great. So I loved the inspiration that I instantly took from the conversation. That was cool. But that's not the hack. That should have probably been the hack, but I've already used it, right? And there was several other really, really smart things that Andrea said. There was, but she said this one thing. She said this one other thing that really, really stuck out to me. Did you get it? Did you hear it? Let's do it. Let's find the hack.
I think also a lot of times we count stuff a little bit too soon. Like, people think that the first day that they throw a website up, that like they're just going to be rich. And so a far better way to look at it is the first day that you throw the website up, that is the worst that your website is ever going to look. It's the worst product offering you're ever going to have because you're just going to keep improving it from there.
And that's the hack. Oh, Andrea, thank you. That is, wow. I was taken aback by it when she said it during the conversation, and I am again, because it's so true. We want things to be so perfect when they first get launched, whether it's a product, it's a podcast, or it's our blog or our new service. We want it to be so perfect that it typically doesn't even ever get launched to the world because it never becomes perfect. And I love the idea of just accepting that this is the worst it's ever going to be, but only if you allow it, only if you put it out there as such. I mean, even hacktheentrepreneur.com was a hilarious, cost me $125 for a design on 99 Designs. And I put it up with my friend Nick Davis, who you can find at nickdavis.co if you'd like some WordPress work. But he did it with me over a weekend, and we just put it together, and it did exactly what it needed to do, but it looked pretty bad. But it worked. And now the site is 1,000 times better, and it's 9 or 10 months later. But it had to be like that to start. Even my first episodes weren't that good. The first version of Velocity Page that we released was terrible. It's just now getting quite good because we've iterated and built off of those, just built off the product, and that's how it has to be. And so I love how you say, just don't make these decisions like, oh my God, it's a failure. It's like, no, it's not. It just started. You just got going. And be willing to suck at the beginning. Just know that that's how it's going to be and that you have to progressively get better. But whatever you put out today or publish today or do, just know that that is the worst it will be, and you will continue to grow it and make it better. But don't try and make it better and perfect before putting it out, because you probably won't. You'll get overwhelmed and you'll get in this weird cycle of looking for perfection that never comes. and then you'll fail to ever launch. So Andrea, thank you so much. That was awesome. All right, this has been a lot of fun as always. I thank you so much for stopping by. If you haven't, could you go to iTunes and leave Hack the Entrepreneur? Leave me a review and a rating. That would mean so much. Just over 250 or 260 maybe now. If you could also put your Twitter handle at your name on Twitter, and I'd love to be able to come on Twitter and thank you for leaving that review. But it helps seriously a lot. It really, really does. But this has been fun. And until next time, please keep hacking the entrepreneur.